Tonight, we will be drafting the $50,000 winner on Underdog Fantasy, the double dribble contest, $25 entry. To do it with myself, Drew Dinkmeyer, two of the best in the business, Chris Lafagas, last year's DraftKings best ball winner, and Mike Gallagher from Team Established Run. Chris, how are you doing on this fine night? We got the number 2 pick. How are you feeling about that?
Oh, baby, let's go. Number 2, I wanted a top 5 pick. We got number 2, first order of business. We got to figure out how to Venmo the Iron Bankmeyer so we can get a piece of this 50K.
Don't worry. We will. I will clearly display this team name as the Three Bozos draft, and we will make sure that that all winnings are distributed appropriately. Mike, how are you feeling on this this fine
good.
Wednesday
evening? You guys had some Greek action. We're gonna get some Greek action too. It looks like with some Giannis. Back from Maui, got a picture hanging in Haleakala here. So trying to keep my vacation life going and back to work, baby. Love it.
Yeah, so we'll make the pick after here, and then we'll talk a little bit of strategy stuff. So Jokic goes 1, no surprise there.
Yeah.
Is there any debate here at 2? Is any debate at all?
Absolutely not.
Zero debate. Yeah.
All right, we'll go Giannis. We'll keep the draft moving. Chris, I'll kick it to you first. I want to talk a little bit about best ball strategy, specifically on the NBA side of things, the positional allocations and whatnot. You've done podcasts with Mike Gallagher and myself talking through this, but share with the people the way to approach these best ball tournament drafts.
All right, so the biggest edge I would say in NBA best ball is going to be your roster construction. So making sure that you're maximizing the value of every pick, that you're not putting people on your bench that are not mathematically allowed to count because of the roster limitations, position limitations. So you have to know the format. And with Underdog, we start 2 guards, 2 wings, and 1 big and 1 flex. That can be any position. So if you take 3 bigs in the first 5 rounds, which sounds like I'm making it up, but you would be shocked at how often I see that. If you take 3 bigs in the first 5 rounds, you're guaranteeing that one of those players that you take is not going to count. And you're at that point, you're donating. There's no way that you can win.
Yeah, I just did a draft. Actually, there were 4 people who drafted 5 bigs. What are we doing here?
Yeah, so you want to be cognizant of resource allocation, just like in NFL. It's a little bit different in NBA, though, just with those 3 positions. And then the other big difference that I'd note is just that you're starting a lighter percentage of your roster than in NFL formats. So, you're only starting 6 players each week out of the 16 that you draft, which means there's going to be a lot of weeks that you're not using most of the guys that you're drafting from rounds 9 on. And so when you're thinking about those types of picks, you want to be really emphasizing upside. And our rankings are seasonal total rankings. So you'll see our rankings are currently free up on establishedrun.com. One of the few NBA things we have up currently. We have more to come very soon, including the launch of our draft kit, pricing, and different things like that will be coming soon. But we do have these rankings up free. That's why we're showing the board here, because look, you guys can see it if you want to. So we'll talk through, but we might not necessarily pick straight from the top of the rankings at certain points in the draft because of positional resource allocation, because of upside and how we view players. I mean, obviously, these are our models rankings. Mike has his own top 150 that are, geared more towards rotisserie, but will have influence in some of the decision-making we have here tonight as well. So it'll be different than you might see just straight picking from the rankings. And this is one of the reasons why, even if you set positional limits and different things like that, you might not necessarily want to just auto draft a bunch of teams with positional limits and rankings, because the rankings are taking seasonal stuff, and we know points per game and different things like that. We try to incorporate it with ceiling, but at the end of the day, in a seasonal projection, games played matter a lot. And so sometimes early on, we'll be taking guys who are a little bit more durable, and later on, we might be talking about taking guys who are less durable and have more per game upside.
Yeah, and also there's a scarcity component here too, because you have different positions. Some positions are deeper, some positions are more shallow, and so here we're only required to start 1 big, and there's a lot of bigs that are listed with that eligibility. This is actually a huge difference from DraftKings because on DraftKings, guys like Anthony Davis and Julius Randle are listed as forward. Domantas Sabonis is another one that is listed as a forward. Those guys are all bigs here. And so in DraftKings, you pay a premium for centers. And in Underdog, actually in our positional scarcity rankings, the bigs get docked a little bit because there's so many of them and you only have to roster one.
Yeah.
Well, you only have to start one. You can play another one in flex if you want.
We are 8 picks away. I'll get a couple notes from the chat out of the way before we get towards our next pick here. People asking if we have DraftKings rankings on the site or if we will. We do not yet. Currently, we will. Somebody asking if there's been anything posted on the ETR NBA site in terms of content for the upcoming season. That is all going to be coming very soon, within the next week or two. So far we've just been lighting up the podcast. So make sure you follow Establish Run's NBA podcast feed. We've been doing we've been doing some interviews with beats and with people who cover the teams. We've also been doing some content to prepare you there. We're going to be having Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy on the next few episodes to do sort of divisional preview, projection preview podcast, sort of like you listen to Establish the Edge with Mike Leone and Ben Gretsch. We did podcasts like that. For football, we're going to do those for basketball with myself, Mike Gallagher, and Justin over the next few weeks. So make sure that you have hit that wonderful, beautiful subscribe button. Gentlemen, we are 5 picks away. We've got a wing on the board. We've got a lot of wings in our queue as well. Claff, what are you thinking here at this type of pick? And how much does the fact that we started with a wing play into this next selection?
I think it does. I think it means that we can only take one wing in one of our next 2 picks. I think if we start with 3 wings, that's going to massively constrain our flexibility and force us to make some bad picks and put us into a box on the next turn. So I'm fine going wing here if we want to, but I think we should only take 1 wing in our next 2 picks.
Looks like we should go Beal or Boner, I would say, on the front end.
Well, I will say the guy drafting first, I believe it's Philly Dilly in chat, already took a big with Jokic. We'll see what this pick here is, if this is Sabonis or if it's someone like Kawhi to help their positional restrictions. But you would have to think it's less likely. Okay, so Sabonis goes.
Boner. So I think it's going to be Beal here, right?
What do you think, Claff? In terms of ADP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the highest guy available from an ADP standpoint. We have lowered him because of the injury today. Zion, another big that's up there from an ADP standpoint. We have much lower because of the games played expectations. What do you think here, Claff?
I'm good with Beal.
Nice.
Okay. Bradley Beal way ahead of ADP, but we're not too concerned about that.
No. So I think Monte Morris is a kind of a mild positive for Beal. We know Monte's not a big usage guy, doesn't turn the ball over. They're going to get more possessions out of it. He's going to really set the table really well for him. I don't think KP's going to shoot the ball too much either. So, I feel really good about Beal.
What are you guys thinking here next? We now have 1 guard, 1 wing. We are opened up for either. The next highest big is Bam or that Zion, who we're way below market on. Otherwise, we're reaching a little bit. What are your thoughts, Claff?
I would take Paul George in this situation, because we took Beal because we thought that one of Paul George or Kawhi could fall to us in this pick. So it's very similar to the Mastiff where you guys had the 2 pick and you talked about manipulating that number 1 pick.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I was thinking with the Beal pick, because I think that he's definitely somebody that we wanted. We needed a guard too, and we thought that there could be another wing coming back to us. And we're still fine at big. I think that one of those guys will come back on the next turn. Guys that go around that ADP or like Julius Randle, Evan Mobley, Ayton, those types of guys. We're going to be fine if we get one of those guys. So I'm not going to get too worried about that. We're just trying to maximize our value. And this is something that actually I talked about with Gallagher on the pod. Guys, check out the Established Run pod feed. Talked about packing as much value into our lineups as possible. And I think we do that with going Beal and then getting a value in either Paul George or Kawhi on the way back. And we have to be feeling pretty damn good, guys. I mean,
it's a lot of upside. It's now you say packing in value. The market would disagree with us though, because we took Beal 7 spots ahead of ADP. We took Paul George 6 spots ahead of ADP. We talked about some of the guys that are going in between them. And the main reason, again, these are best ball leagues, seasonal, no roster management. So you can't make ad drops. If guys are missing games in bunches, they're taking zeros. If they're missing a game a week, they're playing one less game than a lot of their opponents, and this is cumulative scoring. So it adds up. So this is why guys like Zion, who have had a hard time staying on the floor, rate poorly in our rankings. They would be better in a seasonal league where you had that roster transaction flexibility because you can replace those games easier. So in terms of value, Clav, how do you feel about being so far ahead of ADP of some of these guys in that spot? Because you do get a little bit of a challenge at that when you start in the front end of round one, the back end of round two, early round three, we seem to be much higher on the market than some of these other guys.
Yeah, I think that this room is sharper than the rooms that I'm typically in because typically I will have guys like DeMar DeRozan, Sabonis. We almost got Sabonis to come to us. DeJounte, like those guys are typically falling to me at that 2-3 turn, and they were all gone.
Real nice. Yeah,
they were all gone for us. So like just like you guys took Amon-Ra in round 4 of the Mastiff, we took Bradley Beal at the 2-3 turn here just because it was the best pick for us. And when you're drafting, guys, just do a lot of drafts because you're going to be in some strong rooms, you're going to be in some weak rooms. And so I think that that was the right pick for this room.
Chris Smith asks, any concerns on Clippers resting PG and Leonard in general? Mike, I'll let you take that one, and then I'll inform the people of what our general projection is looking on those two guys right now.
Definitely more on Kawhi. We still don't have an official timetable on Kawhi yet, which is pretty insane since it's media day next week. So, I heard a stat on ESPN, 11 of their 15 back-to-backs, I think, are in the first half of the season, something like that. So he's going to miss a lot of games. So I'm not drafting Kawhi, but I think Paul George, his injuries isn't as severe. He's actually missed a lot of games lately, though, really since he's become a Clipper. So a little bit of risk, but his upside's so good. I'm definitely down to invest there.
We have Paul George at 60 projected games played, so we're baking in, him missing a quarter of the season, just due to maintenance, rest, injury, whatever. And we have Kawhi at 55 games. So the math still had those guys at the top of the queue. You'll see like the math on Zion. Zion, for example, we have at let me see here. We have Zion projected for 60 games, but less minutes per night, so 30 minutes per night on Zion at that 60 game. The other part of Zion's projection that's a little bit challenging is you've got so much competing usage there that we haven't seen play together. So I'm just letting the algorithm kind of handle it instead of being able to manually move guys down. Whereas with the Clippers, I can manually move Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, and those guys down from what our algorithm will say because we've seen them play with Paul George and Kawhi. Like we know what that situation is.
And I do think you want to take the team into consideration. Like certain teams are deeper than other teams, and like the Falcons were. I mean, the Hawks were an example last year where they had just so many players, NBA players, they could play. And team like Dallas did not. Like they're playing a ton of minutes for like these low usage guys like DFS and Bullock, and like we had the Jalen Brunson, and who like 2022 Jalen Brunson is? He's going higher, but it's Spencer Dinwiddie. Because Luka misses time during the season, and when he's off the floor, Dinwiddie's going to be a monster.
All right, we are one pick away here. The guy in front of us has two bigs. We are on the clock now. I think this is a spot where, while he's not number one in our ranks, I think we reach for DeAndre Ayton here just to make sure that we walk out of here with the big. What are your thoughts on that, Clav?
I'm fine with that. I mean, you've got three guards there.
You would just hope he doesn't double dip and go Drew FEV. That would be my only hope.
He could.
I think it's a risk I'm willing to take.
He has Jokic though, so is he really going to go Ayton here?
Well, we ran out of time. We have taken Ayton. Yeah. Reminder: they are all watching. So whatever if you're saying or your biggest fear is if they want to.
He's on the end, so it's not like he could
There goes
okay, it works out. It works out, guys.
Okay, so we're good. Yeah, so we're good.
It works out.
So we get Drew. So we get a little Milwaukee stack going, right? Drew is the choice here.
Drew is like the clear choice. I don't even know if there's like another person we would take there.
Okay, a couple notes on the Milwaukee stack. First and foremost, Milwaukee has a favorable playoff schedule in general. They have 20 games through the playoff window. The highest for teams in all is at 22, which is OKC. That's an outlier. Everybody else is at 21. So in general, though, Claff, what are your thoughts on teammates and stacking and pairings? Because I get this question, and it's a nuanced one for me to answer, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, this is one where, like, whenever you're making rules, like in Showdown, you don't want to group yourself out of the nuts. Meaning, like, you don't want to create rules that make it impossible for you to win the slate. And so, like, my first thought when I'm thinking about stacking is do no harm. Like, don't prevent yourself from winning. And I don't think that drafting Drew and Giannis on the same team prevents us from winning at all. I think it's fine. Like, I think that there are questions about AD plus LeBron, Trey plus DeJounte. If for whatever reason you get the ADPs work out for you like that, to get those two guys on the same team hasn't happened for me so far. But so, like, I'm okay with it because you can run into situations that, like, a lot of stuff can happen during the season. Like, Russell Westbrook could get bought out or traded. They signed Schroeder. What if Schroeder gets hurt? Like, LeBron and AD can be such a large part of the Lakers offense. So, and LeBron and AD is like the one that you want to think of the most because it actually can happen where those ADPs line up for both of those guys. And I have maybe like a small fraction of team, maybe have like 5 teams that are AD plus LeBron, and maybe like 5 teams like out of both sites, and I'm drafting on DraftKings and Underdog, and I have like 200 drafts. So maybe it's happened like, 2, 3, 4 times or something like that. I'm not stopping it from happening because it's naturally occurring at such a low frequency, and I don't want to group myself out of the nuts that I'm letting it happen.
So spicy picks in the middle of the draft.
I'll give my thoughts on it. My thoughts on it real quick. I think if you end up with like 3 of your top like 6 picks from one team, probably too much. You end up with like 2 of your top like 10 or whatever. It's entirely possible. Like, if Middleton like has a season-ending injury or something, Drew and Giannis could be phenomenal. And 2 guys also in a playoff week, they could benefit from having more games than other teams. They could benefit from getting into overtime, different things like that. So I am not as against it. Whereas on a single DFS slate, I might be more against it. You could also run into a team that, like, I had a team that I drafted against you before this, Chris, where I ended up with like 3 Wizards guys. I think I ended up with like Kuzma, Beal, and Monte Morris. And I was like, you know what if Washington just like plays faster this year and is more efficient offensively, and I've captured value on each of those guys. Now, the Monte Morris investment is very light compared to the top end guys, but I think there's reasons to think through those situations. And I know you've drafted a couple teams where you've gotten like Jokic, Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and that's a Nuggets offense that could average 130 points a game this year, because we've seen when those 3 guys are healthy, the offense could be incredible. So I don't worry about it too much in these types of formats. It's obviously not like NFL where you're going out of your way to try to correlate in that manner.
Yeah, it naturally happens at such a low rate. Like, I've drafted those 3 players on the same team literally one time the entire year, just because that's how that draft went. And so, like, I'm not stopping myself from doing that. If it's on 1 out of 200 teams and that one doesn't make it, then oh well, I have 199 other teams.
Phil B notes the top 3 winning small ball teams last year had 2 and 3 player team stacks. So there you go.
There you go. I mean, like, so injuries can happen. Like, Middleton's coming off an injury, overtime matchups. Like, you could, they could just have like an awesome schedule at that time of the year. So there's a lot of stuff that can
possibly
happen.
in the weeds a bit, but Middleton is extension eligible and he has a player option next year. So, I mean, if he doesn't get that extension, this man's not going to want to play through injury. So, just something to consider.
All right, we are 4 picks away here, Clef. We are balanced so far. 2 guards, 2 wings, 1 big. You love to see it. A lot of positional flexibility on how and what routes we can take here. What do you lean towards? We got a couple bigs sneaking up the board. We've got a few guards, a few wings. It's actually a pretty balanced board for us in terms of what's available.
I'll be the Silva and don't table talk it, and be like, that was so funny. Silva's like, yo, don't talk about our picks, but this is a big pick for us here.
So yeah, hold on. Clay goes. And this Christian Wood goes, guys, you know who I want to take. You know who I want to take. I want to let it rip with Jamal Murray.
Yes.
Let's go. I'm in.
Let's
8 games. Is it
baby.
8 games for them in the finals? I forget.
It's not. It's not 8 games for them.
They have a week final. They have a good semi. They have 8 games in the semis, 6 in the finals.
Okay.
But just generally, like, I've had a hard time getting Jamal. This is beyond ADP.
Let's go. Yeah,
we have him a little beyond ADP, so I'm like, and also I think we're stronger at forward or at wing than we are at guard. So I like investing in the guard side there with the high end option. Now this next pick, a little bit interesting to me. I have a clear lean here. We'll see.
I'm
what
probably
happens.
a little spicy on this
Okay.
one, but
okay. My clear lean here would be Nurk.
ugh.
That's who I want to take because
I get it. Yeah,
I know Gallagher wants Jordan Poole, don't you?
you know it, of course. Yeah. Come on,
That's
man.
the debate. Those are the two guys.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm good. I'm good with Nurk.
I think you go Nurk
It makes
because of where our roster balance is right now.
I get
That's
it.
the main reason I think
I'm good with it.
and that's why I would take Nurkic too. But I do love Jordan Poole this year. Absolutely love Jordan Poole. Think he's going to have a huge role. But I think is he the chalk for 6th man of the year, Gallagher?
Big time shock. Yeah.
Big time chalk. I mean, and you know that they're going to rest Clay and they're going to rest Curry and Draymond after that championship run. They play deep in the playoffs.
Yeah,
but
I'm happy to find out I'm above him on market for my 150. I was worried I'd be coming in below.
Yeah, but like
Really
we have Ayton who's not really like a strong first big. He's not like
that's where I was going to go on this. If we had Jokic, if we had Jokic as big number 1, and I know I'm not beating a lot of Jokic weeks, I'm like, okay, I'm good going into the guy that I think might have a higher overall upside. But Nurk on a week by week basis is probably going to beat out Ayton on a number of weeks. And I want that second option. I don't want my second option to end up being, later on in the draft where it ends up being one of these bigs that the playing time is kind of uncertain,
And like another thing is like when it gets to the end of big, like I hate the end of big. Like I really, really, really do not want to roster. These guys have no path to upside. There's like 0 path to upside for like JaVale McGee. Like he can fill in.
We didn't take Jordan Poole and Gallagher just leaves. He's just out.
Yep.
Gallagher's like you guys dunked on me and you took Nurk and I'm out.
Nah, I'm good with Nurk.
Well, how about like maybe dink to the people? They saw Pirtle. We have Pirtle ranked ahead of Nurk.
God, I can't do Pirtle, man. Can we
Yeah,
take him?
So me and you thought without like a second guess that it was Nurk. So maybe for the people.
So yeah, a couple reasons for that. So Nurk. So this is where it gets into knowing. I know our Nurk games played projection is lighter than our Pirtle projection. So I knew if they were even on games played, I believe Nurk would be higher. I also know there's some stuff going on with San Antonio where Pirtle's got really big upside, but they're tanking and he could get moved. And if he gets moved to, and we actually only have Pirtle 1 game apart actually, now that I look at it. But if they're tanking and he gets moved, he could end up being like a bench big. So like Pirtle has a really wide range of outcomes. I think Nurk's role is super steady with Portland, and we've seen Nurk as like the second, operating offensive option, which he could be. He could leapfrog Anthony Simmons when he had a harder time leapfrogging McCollum in the past. We've seen him be dominant. So I think the upside is maybe even a little bit bigger for Nurk, and I think the floor is a little bit better, even though the math is going to say Pirtle, because San Antonio lacked so many options there, Pirtle looks so good from a math perspective. And that's where I'm a little bit of art to go with the science,
Yeah. I'll add to contract year. I would say I'd be honestly shocked if he's on that team after the deadline.
Pirtle.
His contract's not too bad. Yeah, Pirtle.
Yeah.
Like his contract's like $9 million or something. Yeah, $9.4 million. Pretty affordable. A lot of teams need backup bigs.
Yeah.
A pretty good rebounder. He's not gonna be on that team. So he'll be a backup when the chips are down in the underdog playoffs.
So what about there's a guy that's kind of like sitting on top of our queue right now, but kind of like dovetails nicely into the conversation.
Well, let's see what comes back to us here, and then we'll make the picks, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. In the meantime, Seymour asked, more of an NFL best ball player, does drafting for the end of the season matter as much as it does for NFL drafts? Yes. because the prize pools are still top heavy. That's the reason. It's not sport different, it's contest differences, right? So if the payout structures were much flatter, we'd feel differently. Okay, we're one away here. Trey Jones goes, we'll talk about him in a second. Top of our queue is a wing. We have 3 guards, 2 wings, 2 bigs. I'm good with this wing that's here, but we also got Anthony Simmons. We got Spencer Dinwiddie. What do you want to do here, Claff?
I want to take a guard here.
Well, we know who you want to take.
Well, yeah, but wait,
Yeah.
who do you guys want?
I'm good with Simons or Dinwiddie.
I had to get something in there before we ran out. I went
Yeah.
Simons. So this is I would have been more open to Dinwiddie if we didn't just draft Nurk. The reason being, right? The reason being, Dame goes down. Dame gets injured. I think we take Brandon Clark here. We all good with Brandon Clark?
I actually like Hayward, man, which is gross. It's gross, but the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think Miles Bridges is going to miss a lot of time.
Yeah. What do you think, Claff?
I think
I'm with Gallagher. Go.
All right, let's do it. Perfect. Okay, so
I
I'll let that clock run out and we'll draft Gordon. But I wanted to note on the Simons thing, we're already betting on Nurk having some sort of ceiling. It probably gets there if Dame gets hurt. And if that happens, it's Nurk, and yeah, we're not gonna autopilot.
No, say no.
No.
Yeah.
No, don't want autopilot. Okay. So that's why I lean Simons slightly over Dinwiddie in that spot. You could make the other case where it's like, well, if you're, you could maximize upside by getting Nurk to be the number 2 guy on Portland, and Luka goes down, and Dinwiddie is there. So you could go both ends of that. But I like Simmons there. I think the floor is a little bit better than Dinwiddie, and I think the ceiling case partners well with what we're looking at.
And I have there's like a couple situations where I have guys like right next to each other, and I even agonize, and like I look at my rankings like every day, and I still agonize over Simons v. Dinwiddie v. Marcus Smart, because I know that Smart has like a lower ADP, but Boston, we talk about rosters that are congested, and Boston kind of like feels like one of those to me. And then we talk about rosters that are, I don't want to say bereft, but the opposite of congested, and Dallas feels like that to me. So that's why I kind of struggle with that.
Yeah. As
PJ Washington goes to, I've been jamming PJ Washington today for the same
as JAK cough. I'm going to be very careful on the pronunciation there. Notes, slam the like, you filthy early degen.
And like one more thing on Clark, it's like we just had that guy ask about, do you think about late season? First off, there's like some universal truths in best ball. All right. And the universal truths are that rookies and young players perform better at the end of the season than the beginning of the season. And there's some other ones too. Like you want to respect ADPs. That's true in NBA and it's true in NFL. But like with Clark, one of the things that I worry about is that Jaren Jackson is going to come back at some point in the season. He's hurt right now. That's reflected in our projections. And when he does, that's going to reduce the minutes and rates available for Clark at the end of the season. And we're trying to win at the end of the season. So Clark, a lot of his projection is because he's going to be the man early. And so with Hayward, you have, what if Miles Bridges misses the entire year? Because we're still projecting Miles Bridges for minutes. And
not much though. We're down to like 20 games on Miles.
We're down to 20. Okay, well there's just a little bit of upside.
A thought to add to that, maybe. So say you do draft someone like Zion, who probably is being managed a little bit early. Maybe drafting someone like Clark with him is a kind of way to different positions, but you kind of get my point.
Yeah, so I think I like Clark on teams where if he's my third wing or my fourth wing, it's a wing team that I'm not super confident in. Giannis and Paul George, I'm very confident those guys put up big points whenever they're there. So I kind of want the guy who might have a chance to put up bigger points late, which, hopefully Hayward can manage himself through the season, but there's certainly the path there with how thin Charlotte is. Charlotte's a really tough team to project. Phil B asked, does Miles Bridges play at all? I know Gallagher, you think that is not the case.
I think it's a little unlikely. So just the background on that. He had his trial pushed back to the 29th of this month. I'm not going to get into it, but the charges are pretty rough. And he pled not guilty. This thing's going to go to trial. Who knows how long that takes? Maybe not long, but it's going to be tough for anybody to sign him. Well, that thing's if he's either obviously if he's guilty, no one's going to sign him, but it's pretty rough. So I think leading into it and avoiding him is and bleeding into it, getting value
agent now, right? Mike, he's a restricted.
He has not signed a contract.
Yeah, I don't think they sent him a qualifying offer either.
Yeah,
I remember. I could be wrong.
Could he sign a contract like tomorrow with the Hornet with Charlotte?
Yeah,
or?
Technically,
it would have to be a team that had. It would have to be a team that had space to do so. But yes.
Yeah.
So it's up to him.
Well, it's
no one's going to sign him right now. I mean, no one's going to sign him.
He could sign he could sign a contract, but he's restricted, so Charlotte would have the chance to match it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is why he is most likely, if he is playing, ending up on Charlotte this year, for a number of reasons. Like most new teams are not going to take that PR risk. Like there's a number of reasons there. We're 2 picks away here. We are 4-3-2. Steven Adams is at the top of our board, which I don't think I've taken him at all this year. Harrison Barnes, Karis LeVert.
I was going to say he's they pulled their qualifying offer.
Okay.
Right.
Let's get into that later.
No. Okay. Sorry.
Steven Adams, baby.
We're
taking Steven Adams. The Memphis Grizzlies have 8 games in Underdog finals.
Okay.
Big is disgusting late. I don't want any of the, Walker Kessler, Adabuke. What's it? I can't even say that name right.
Azubuike.
Yeah, I don't want.
I will tell you guys. I have a guy that I very much want for this next pick. We'll see if we get sniped here. But Adams takes us out of. We're done with big now. We're done.
We're done.
We're done at big. I dig it,
and we feel good about it. Like we've invested enough in the position.
Okay, here's the guy I want. I want Karis LeVert.
Ooh. Okay.
Do you guys have strong opinions on who you want here? Harrison Barnes. I think we'd have to take a wing.
I'm good with LeVert.
LeVert, Harrison Barnes, Jashawn Tate, Kuminga. I think LeVert has the highest upside of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, like Harry B is going to have a tough time, like counting. And I'm worried about his team. I'm worried about Sacramento playing slower this year. They played really, really fast last year. They're going to get a new coach. I don't know if he's getting older. I don't know if the new coach is going to give him as many minutes. Like he's a guy that I'm probably a little bit lower on than where the math might have him. So LeVert is like an awesome pick.
Yeah. So a couple things on LeVert. If Garland gets hurt, if Donovan Mitchell gets hurt, if they both get hurt, like there's a couple paths to like really, really big ceiling because we know he's a good per-minute producer. So that's where I want that upside for my fourth wing, right? I'm not going playing it safe. Phil B said, "Whoa, no Bones." We have Jamal Murray. I want Bones on my non-Jamal Murray teams, and I will have plenty of Bones, but not on
no bones Murray. About it. Class.
Yeah, not on the Jamal Murray team for me. Is kind of the first thing because Bones to really hit the ceiling, it's going to come at the expense of Jamal's health, and I don't want to compete for my own ceilings on those ones.
Like absolutely, like, and we love Bones, like ETR. We love Bones. He produces well. He's one of these guys. We have a lot of like fucking alphas on this team. Like studs, like per minute studs. And Bones is one of those guys. But like being said, we got Jamal Murray, so I'm not putting Jamal Murray and Bones on the same team. But LeVert has that injury upside, and at this point, we're not relying on him because we've got 3. We invested a good bit in wings. We got Paul George, Hayward, and Giannis, and so like LeVert could count in our flex, but we don't need him to count.
Yeah. Marsh Lamb asking Mitch Rob over Adams. I do think Mitch Rob has a theoretically higher ceiling, but I will say this: I don't know that his ceiling is really that much different on a weekly basis than Adams because Mitch, I don't think, is ever playing 30-plus minutes routinely, and especially with them investing in Hartenstein, who we also, Phil B was asking Chris, no love for Hartenstein. Hartenstein's the one guy late in drafts that we do really like quite a bit.
Yeah. If you only take two bigs and want a third, that's the guy to take.
Yeah, and he's my third big on a lot of teams where I start with Jokic, I start with Embiid, something like that, where I'm not investing as much in the middle rounds. Then somebody like that has that kind of upside I like. But you can see some of these upside bigs start going off in round 12. Isaiah Jackson, Mo Bamba. Are they really that different than Isaiah Hartenstein from a ceiling
he's a guy that
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think by the end of this process, he's going to be going around where like Brolo goes, maybe a little bit earlier.
Yeah, he won't be going 170 for long.
Yeah.
He's too good.
Yeah. And people noting in chat that they have like no LeVert or whatever. Our projections don't love LeVert. We got him 13 spots after ADP, right? Relative to what the board was there, Harrison Barnes, Karis LeVert, Bones Highland. I think I forget who else was up on the board at that time. We're only 4 picks away. So
it's like Chris Duarte. You know who I wanted to take, and I didn't want to say? He's gone now. I wanted to take Dort.
Yeah. So the only thing there would have been the roster imbalance for me.
Right. Yeah.
So we're still really, we're not taking big, so we're still at wings and guards here. And we've got our pick of the litter in terms of how we want to operate. Behind us, I believe it's Philly Dilly who's behind us under this Walkstar pseudonym. He's got 5 guards, 4 wings, 2 big. So he's a little bit lighter guards if we wanted to risk it. What are your thoughts here, Claff? You can see our boy Hartenstein is climbing up, but we're not in the big market.
Well, I would personally take Will Barton here.
Okay.
Even with Beal.
Yeah, because it's round 12.
Yeah, I think we're all right. I'm fine with that.
Okay. And then on the way back, we're probably going to be looking at wing. Could take a 6 guard. We're very strong at wing when you start Giannis, Paul George. So you can lean the roster a little bit in the direction of guard. So I don't think we're like pigeonholed into any one situation here. I have a couple guys I'd be open to here.
Do you want to pull up the guard pages? Just to go full guards? Yeah.
So guards is Seth Curry, Reggie Jackson, Derek White, Rubio, Norm Powell. Down here is Patrick Beverly, Oladipo, DeAnthony Melton, those guys. Wings, Herter, Eason, Hardaway, Bruce Brown, Fournier, Isaac. Isaac is a guy with a big upside. Miles Bridges, who we just don't have for playing many games. So in this spot, I liked Reggie Jackson. I thought he was interesting. I think Herter's upside is interesting. I think Curry's okay. I'd probably lean Herter personally.
I would lean Herter. Yeah, I'm good with Herter.
Yeah, I like him too.
Okay.
Of course you like Herter, Dink.
I do. I'm still pumping my Top Shot bags.
Gotta do it.
I have not logged into Top Shot in over a year, but I'm gonna pump those bags.
Listen, if you just don't look at the valuations, then you haven't lost anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't been logging into any of my crypto stuff. But
no realized losses. Yeah. This is where, things do get a little bit tough at this time of the draft. You can see we're, Herter 12 spots above ADP that we took there. Barton right around ADP. Things do get a little bit tighter here. And you can see some reaches now starting to get into the mix as well.
I wanted Jalen late bad, man.
We are not as high on him, so maybe something to look on from a projection standpoint.
I think the SGA thing helps him in a significant way, honestly. The wingmans are going to be opening up with Giddey swinging more to the one. I think his ball handling is really good, so taking some pressure off Giddey is really something that's going to benefit him. Yeah, he looks so pro-ready in Summer League.
And just on the Shea stuff, because it happened today, so we did dock Shea 7 games with the MCL sprain, grade 2 MCL sprain. Typical recovery time is like 40 days. And so we docked him 7 games, and we did boost a little bit Jalen Williams and Trey Mann. That we just, whenever there's news, by the way, we immediately respond to the news, and we change our rankings, and that's reflected on the site. So we gave him a little bit of a doctor. Plus you had the Chet injury, and so you start to worry about, is the team going to push the timeline back a bit?
Yeah,
and they have a strong history of tanking. So that took Shea down from spot 20 in our rankings to spot 25. Just to give a little bit of context on that injury.
That's Jalen with the L-E-N, a.k.a. J-Dub, a.k.a. the Santa Clara Jalen, a.k.a. the better Jalen. He's really good.
Peterman asking, Mike touched on Monty Morris earlier. Any upside for a little more usage assist leaving Jokic? So I for sure, definitely more upside playing a different role. He's been good as a backup point guard, playing alongside a primary facilitator with Jokic. It'll be a different style in Washington. Definitely more room for usage and assist rate growth. But we lose Claff.
He went to witness protection for a bit, so I guess it's internet.
He did. But you also have more potential risk on the efficiency side of things.
There he is.
There's Claff. I don't know.
The Tech Lord.
The Tech Lord.
Yeah. Going full Henry Hill in it with the.
He's going Leone black box now. Okay, there we go.
Can you guys see me okay now?
But yeah, I think I'm a big fan of Monte. I actually like Monte a little bit more in points than Roto, and in the past it's been the opposite for me.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of relative to where he was in the past. All right, I'm going to mute myself while the sirens go nuts. Gallagher, you can talk more about Monte.
Yeah, so there was a big quote. Let me pull it up here from Wes Unseld earlier today. Where are you? Quote. Because he always struck me as an Unseld guy. Unseld loves guys who play under control and could really just organize an offense and just set the table. So I had him ranked pretty high in the 150 even before reading the quote here. But where are we at? Oh man, we had a lot of chitter chatter today about the Raptors, which we have to talk about. Actually, I've seen him make an immediate impact already. He's a connector. He's a guy that I'm not sure how, but around the league, everyone knows Monte, and he does a terrific job integrating himself. So, yeah, it just sounds like Monte is just going to really be a guy that takes the reins at this point guard spot. I think his minutes going to be really good. Again, I just think he fits what this offense wants to be. So the minutes going to be really strong. We know he's really good for category style league, shoots the ball really well. I think him and Beal are going to fit great together. So, I think Roto style he's going to be really good, but I like him for whatever.
Yeah. So what I meant by that was I think his increase in value increased more in points than it did in Roto. He's always been a better Roto player than the points player.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd still take him.
Points value. Yeah, you wouldn't take him in this as a nugget for sure, but now you can.
Can we say our Raptors, by the way, because we smashed the over on the win total.
Let's go. Yeah.
Let's go, baby.
Can we take the guy I want? What position is he?
Who do you want, Gal? Well, should we say?
I'll bring it up in the chat.
Yeah, no. I know
what
who he
position
wants.
is he?
I think he's gone. Oh, he's there. He's a big. No, we can't.
Okay, so we don't take him.
All right. What are you looking at now, Claff? The Rubio as the top guard is a little tricky for me because I love his upside, but it's kind of the same Levert bet.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you do here, Claff? This is kind of a tough spot.
Do you have any Clippers? Oh, we have Paul George, right? Yeah, Paul George.
We got to make a pick.
I would take Rubio.
Okay.
All right, so now we're betting big on some injury. That would be bad for our Cavs over.
Last year, I drafted Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones.
Do you want to scroll down a little bit, so we can see who else is there?
So wings, this is what we've got on the board. We've got Avdija, Miles Bridges, Kyle Anderson, Covington, Crowder, Baisley, Royce O'Neal. Guards, we've got Schroeder, Beverly, Oladipo, Melton, Josh Christopher, DiVincenzo.
We want a wing, right?
Guard or a wing? What do you guys want?
I would take a guard.
Wing, right? Okay. I think Depot's solid. Schroeder. Bet against Jimmy.
Yeah, I like Schroeder here. I mean, the reason why guard is because, look at the wings that we have.
Yeah, okay.
We have invested a lot in that position, and we have Giannis, and Giannis is always going to count unless he's hurt, which means we have 4 guys for one position. That was a really tough turn for me. I think the guy I would have gone with there. I don't think he's going to come back to us. I'll say it after he goes. I'll say it after he goes. But yeah, that was a really tough swing there for me. I think the guys we got both do have upside to them. We know Schroeder can be a good point per minute guy. We think there's a chance Russ gets moved. And there's always a chance that things could go really bad for the Lakers and Schroeder could be playing on a team where LeBron's hurt, AD's hurt, and he's the only guy who has the ability to create his own shot type thing. So there's paths there for sure. Oladipo, I thought has pretty good upside too. A team where we don't have any Miami, I wouldn't mind. Going in that direction either. Yeah.
Kind of tough one.
They might find minutes for him too, even when Jimmy plays, just because they have if Caleb Martin just completely airballs and they don't find. I mean, they're going to probably find a way to fix that, but not signing Markieff Morris, they're just so gutted there. They're going to have to play smaller.
Yeah, I don't mind Oladipo either, because you're getting a little bit of a discount on ADP, and like obviously ADP matters less after every round. Mm-hmm. You can deviate more when you're in round 14 or 15 than when you're in round 2. But I still don't mind Oladipo a little bit. I don't know. I mean, Schroeder and Oladipo, that was a tough turn. I thought we needed guard though. I felt good about that position. I didn't feel good.
I would have split them. I think I would have split them. I feel very good about the high end wing, but with Paul George's health stuff, it gets a little bit shakier here. In the first 4 guards we have, I feel really good about. Mm-hmm. So I felt really good about 4 guards versus 2 wings, even though one is a super alpha. That's where I probably would have gone. Okay, and so the guy
we have Gordon Hayward too.
So the guy I was gonna tout was Avdija, and a couple reasons. We have Beal and Barton, right? So you'd immediately think like, okay, well, that's a lot of Washington investment. But Barton and Avdija are in this battle, I think, which is a wide open small forward roster spot for the competition. Could be Avdija, could be like Corey Kispert, could be Barton. We have Barton as the favorite to do it. As Andreas Benkeri noted, Avdija crushed Euroball and had a good showing there. So he's a guy that like, it was just almost like at this point, if we had taken him, we're almost like locking in that we got one of the guys who's most likely to win that competition and get a score out of it. And it's hard to get scores that are ever going to count for you at this point. So that would have been kind of my thinking to balance out the roster a little bit. And once we get into the wing, if we're going to take another wing here, you'll see like the options are shaky, to say the least. The guard options are not much better, to be fair. And again, this is the part of that is because if you look at this room, there's this fine chap who drafted 6 picks.
Let's go.
But there's not a lot of those. I'm guessing that person is moved to auto
guys,
draft.
When you draft, do not draft 6 picks.
So this person has less than 1% chance at winning this thing. Winning and advancing out of our league.
It's a tough seed, baby.
Yeah.
Which like now we're only playing against 11. I mean 10.
Yeah. All right. So this last spot, I think we'd lean wing here with a 7-5.
I think for sure. Yeah. Barton hasn't been healthy either. We have kind of a little bit of fragility on those forwards besides our stud.
And like take at least 6 guards, guys, because the math is very clear on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Klaff's written some contests using contest data, a strategy piece using contest data on this in the past. And more guards, like leaning and tilting your roster in the direction of guards is better because guards are kind of like in a way, the positional comparison between NFL and NBA struggles, but in a way they're kind of like running back where like they can run themselves into volume. All right, so who do we want for our last pick here?
Clap, did you want Beasley too?
Yes,
I wanted Beasley too. Yeah.
Shit. All right, max upside.
I would go Jalen McDaniels for max upside.
Ooh, interesting.
Ooh, spicy.
Scroll down a little bit. You could put him in the queue if you want. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Caleb Martin.
Yeah, that works for me. I'm good with Jalen.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's just some.
Then we go in guard to close out. Or you want to hit it?
No, we're done. That was it.
Oh, we're done. Okay.
That was round 16. So I'll take this down and we'll review the draft, the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe we can look at like other people's teams too.
Yeah. So we'll review the board here. If you were in the draft with us, drop your username on Underdog here, and we'll review your teams as well. Soshan and Trey Murphy were guys that Andreas Benkeri mentioned as well there. I think those are interesting options too. Soshan,
yeah, Trey Murphy's really interesting. That's especially against Brandon Ingram.
Because you're just looking for upside there. But so Klaff had written the strategy piece about leaning into guards, and that's definitely something you want to kind of tilt your roster in because they can run into these situations where they garner a lot of usage just by being like the backup point guard who's now thrust into a spot late in the season and they have their ball in their hands a ton, right? Whereas the same thing can happen with bigs, but you need bigs less. It's harder to do that for wings because a lot of the wing guys in the NBA who are the backups are true like 3-and-D guys, the Tony Snells of the world or whatever. So they're not guys that are ever coming into a role that's big enough to make a really, really big move, right? A couple other notes. Someone had asked what the scoring was like on Underdog. If you're comparing it to one of the daily fantasy sites from a scoring perspective, it is FanDuel scoring. It is the official scoring of the NBA in terms of fantasy. I know some people think that scoring is nutty, but it is the official scoring of the NBA fantasy game, and Underdog follows it as well. DraftKings obviously follows the scoring that is similar to their fantasy game. All right, so Claff, we have a couple people that we were drafting against here in chat.
Nice.
I want you to give some feedback on their teams. We'll start with Felix Reyes, who's drafting out of the 9 spot here under Ethel Reyes 3. What are your thoughts on Felix's team? Starts with Trae Young, Anthony Davis, Jimmy Butler, and backs it up with CJ McCollum, Jalen Green, a couple guards in a row, a couple wings in a row, Kyle Kuzma, John Collins, Franz Wagner, gets in Al Horford, Jared Vanderbilt, Bones Highland, Davion Mitchell, Jalen Duran, Patrick Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein in round 15, and Cam Thomas. A lot of young players,
I love it.
Upside-oriented players. What are your thoughts on Felix's draft?
All right, so I like the Trae Young pick quite a bit, and that's a guy that we're high on. I think he definitely goes over Dame. Like, and personally, like in my ranks, I have him right there with LaMelo Ball. That's kind of like a toss-up for me, but LaMelo went a pick ahead, so I think Trae Young is fine. Anthony Davis is somebody that I'm really high on this year. I have a lot of Anthony Davis this year.
A little bit ahead of ADP here at 16.
A little bit ahead in ADP, but I don't mind it because the upside that Anthony Davis has, I mean, he's when he's healthy, he can be like the top 2, top 3 player on the DFS slate, a 10K player. It's someone that it all depends on health and games played. And he rested a lot last year. Sometimes guys rest 1 year, they come back a little bit healthier the next year. So, and I think basically like my take on the Lakers this year is going to be they're going to go the direction of Anthony Davis. Because we saw what happened when LeBron played at like an all-world level last year, but Anthony Davis missed. If the Lakers are going to be good, they need Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is rested. I think he cares. I think he wants to win. I think he has phenomenal. He has one of the rare paths to matching Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid in the finals. He can do it. He can match. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be healthy, but he can physically. He can do it. It's going to be hard for some of the other bigs to do it. So I don't mind that pick at all. All right, then who do you take in 3?
This was a 6-6-4 draft overall. To keep that in perspective, so positional allocation was 6-6-4. 4 bigs with an Anthony Davis. Jimmy Butler is the first wing, so split it up, even allocation across resources in the first 3 picks, and then follows up Jimmy Butler with a couple guards and then 3 wings in a row.
Yeah, and 6-6-4 is basically like vanilla ice cream and missionary sex. It's fine.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's fine. You like it. It's good. You know, you're getting on the team. But it basically outperforms your standard roster construction. But it is the base roster construction. You can deviate off of that. You can play it and be just fine. I play 6-6-4s. I play 7-6-3s. I play 6-7-3s a little bit more rarely, but still do it. I play 8-5-3s. 6-6-4s are fine. So who does he take? He takes Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy, then McCollum, Jalen Green, Kuzma, Collins, Franz. Because there's a couple guys who want to have their teams looked at. Any picks that stand out to you as really strong or guys that you are not as in on this year?
I think that Jalen Green is a little bit before I would take him because I worry about his ancillary statistics and his defensive statistics. He does definitely have the scoring. But I don't know about the assists, rebounds, blocks, steals. I think I like John Collins at 81. I've got him at that spot on a number of times. I think Bones is a good upside guy. Vanderbilt maybe a touch early. Like I worry about, they just signed Cody Zeller, and is he going to play 5? But I like Vanderbilt too, so that's fine right there.
I think it's a good pick.
You like Vandy. Okay, yeah, so that's fine.
Yeah.
And then like the upside guys late, I like Hartenstein round 15 is great value, and I think he's going to be going at the end of this process around where Jalen Durant is going.
Yeah.
Cam Thomas, I think, has a lot of upside. That's a perfect last pick. That's because like if things go bad for Brooklyn, and they can, we know that Kyrie is Kyrie, and we know that Durant wanted to get traded, and nobody likes Nash. And if things go bad, Cam Thomas is going to be great. That's exactly who you want to be picking in the last pick.
And he has no Ben Simmons, no Kyrie, no KD too. So
yeah,
right.
So pretty good team.
Next up, Ralphie J. Ralph Johnson in the chat from the 10 spot, right after Felix. Starts Karl Anthony Towns. Gallagher, your boy Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Would you rather have Cat or Trey if you were picking in that spot?
Oh my God. That is so hard.
I would probably go Cat, just know you have that covered, and then you can kind
by
of
a whisker Cat. I would basically, it's very, very close, but I would very, very slightly give the edge to your boy.
Okay, cool.
I would take Cat. I'll say this: I would take Cat in that spot just because I think the options of the guards that you have coming back are all fairly similar. Whereas the big, you kind of have to make that decision with Anthony Davis, right? Where you're either going to take Anthony Davis a couple spots ahead of ADP, or you're going like guard, because usually it's a wing dead zone here, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a wing dead zone. So that's why, because the guards are so strong here, I don't mind taking Towns like maybe a little bit earlier, and then knowing I'm kind of starting big guard, and okay, I'll work on wings in the mid.
Plus Towns is 10.7 ADP and Trey is 12.7 ADP, and you want to respect ADPs. Like if you do a bunch of drafts, you're going to get Trae Young plenty. So, just respect ADPs, guys. I think Towns slightly over Trae Young. I have them like back to back in my rankings, and I have Towns slightly ahead of Trae Young. So that's a good pick. Booker is phenomenal. That's fine. You don't want to go Anthony Davis. I think
Booker and Chris Paul as a pairing. We did Giannis and Drew. Booker, Chris Paul as a pairing in the second and fourth rounds.
Okay. I guess that's fine. Like I'm not going to make a rule against that, but I wouldn't take Chris Paul 39 because
I think I would have taken McCollum here over Chris Paul in this range. If I'm taking a guard in this spot, right? I might not take the guard there, but if I was, in part because while we talked about Giannis and Drew was in the 5th and Giannis is obviously in the 1st, but that's a team that can go nuclear offensively from a points perspective. The Suns, they play so slow that in terms of like nuclear offensive weeks, I think it's going to be a little bit harder to get there. So I'd be a little bit more conscientious of teams that play slow, investing a lot in their early guys together.
Yeah, plus there's one key point here for me, which is that we did Drew and Giannis. We got Drew after ADP. In this point, we're taking Chris Paul above ADP. So
yeah,
I just would not. I'm fine with Chris Paul if he's in the next round.
And then follows it up with Kristaps Porzingis, D'Angelo Russell. We only have one wing here through 6 rounds. So starting to get into some positional need issues where Mikhail Bridges becomes your second wing. The good news about Mikhail, very durable player.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of games played. I think this is a really nice falling spot for Mikhail. If this ended up having to be Sadiq Bey or John Collins, this ends up getting pretty thin. But we're also full-blown Phoenix stack now.
Yeah, we are fully dependent on the Phoenix Suns. And like he's really leaning on that Mikhail Bridges durability. He's putting some pressure on his roster. So this is a team, when you have Mikhail Bridges, your second big, that you want to be drafting 6 or 7 wings on this team. Do you know how many wings we ended up with here?
Ralphie ended up with Ingram, Mikhail, Jeremy Grant, Josh Hart, Kuminga, Hardaway, Covington, Royce. So 8, I believe.
8. Okay. Well, we got.
You knew we had a weakness, yeah.
Yeah. I will know one knock on the All Phoenix. The playoff schedule is not friendly, Ralphie. 18 games in total during the playoffs, and just 7 in the finals. 7 in the finals is actually fine, but 5 and 6 in the quarters and semis. So going all in on Phoenix, you're going to need some help from the other guys, or you're going to need some overtime games or something, because those 5-game weeks are going to be tough when you're going up against teams that have players from 7 and 8 games.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, get into Malcolm Brogdon, Josh Hart, Kuminga. So you do get into some upside picks here late, which we love. Kuminga, Isaiah Jackson, Tim Hardaway. Derek White would need some injuries. Derek White and Brogdon doubling up together, that's in a way, that's sort of banking on one of the Boston studs to go down. Not necessarily Marcus Smart, one of the usage guys to go down, right?
Yeah.
That these guys can kind of fill.
Yeah.
They'll just shift. We know they just shift guys around. They'll just move Brown into Tatum spot. They'll move Brogdon into Jaylen Brown's spot. Like there's a so yeah. If someone goes down, it's pretty good.
And then Covington and Royce. Royce is a guy that I just would never take.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I want to be taking guys like Malik Beasley, where you don't know what's going to happen on Utah, but we know what that dude can do, and you want to lean into uncertainty. That's another like universal truth in best ball. You lean into uncertainty. You do it in NFL. You take Garrett Wilson, you take Devin Singletary, you take Leonard Fournette because it's ambiguous backfield. You do that in NBA too. Malik Beasley, uncertain situation with Utah. The uncertain situations you're going to find more of when there's a coaching change. And here there's like an organizational change. Like Ainge is coming in and he's like cleaning house.
Yeah,
That's
why I'm so into drafting Hayward and PJ Washington and Rozier, because you got a star player out and a coaching change. So there's just so much things that could just work in their favor, and you're getting them pretty cheap.
The one challenge, I like the price tags on the Charlotte guys. The one thing I'll note about the coaching change, possibly playing slower. Also, they played very condensed last year, and the coaching change can only kind of hurt that in a weird way. Like they played so condensed that it could only get worse, but they have such clear guys that are NBA guys versus not NBA guys that I think it's still going to be fine.
Right. They played condensed because they had Miles Bridges playing like 38 minutes too.
Right, and they lost him.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't think they have the talent to play any other way, but it's just it's something that.
And Clifford did go condensed at times, not like frequently, but like when his team was competing, he wasn't afraid to play, 8.5, 9.
Yeah.
I mean, and like you make a great point about the pace, Dink, because we've seen Clifford before, and he always plays. Like I went back every single team that he had, every single NBA team, and looked at the pace of those teams, and they're always slow in the bottom half. And I am concerned about that, and I am concerned about like them playing like less condensed. But there is one guy that I kind of like, and how many times did we flag playing him last year? And he played 27 minutes, 28 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, what if LaMelo plays 33, guys?
Well, we're projecting it that way. I mean, we're projecting him for we're in it. All right, these last two
flag planted him with 8 points.
Last two teams before we get out of here, Philly Dilly was Walkstar 517 from the number 1 spot, so gets the benefit of starting with the best player in the game, Nikola Jokic. Backs it up with Shea and Kawhi, 2 high upside picks, but some injury risk.
Major injury risk.
Gets Middleton, who I really like. Middleton on a team that starts with Jokic, you get some leverage on the team that's in the second spot as well in your league. That like if something happens to Giannis, you're also working off of him. Backed it up with Michael Porter Jr. for Jokic with a little Denver stack. I like that too. But more injury risk. But look, you're playing for
best ball, baby. Yeah,
you're playing for ceiling. You know what I mean? So like,
I get it.
And the thing that I'll note is if you're taking the injury risk guys where we have them, we've already included the injury risk. You know what I mean? Like, yes, they're more likely to get hurt than other guys, but we've already got them playing fewer games than other guys. So there's ways that if you catch the healthy season, you really get there. Speaking of more upside, Tyler Hero, Spencer Dinwiddie, Wendell Carter Jr., Markelle Fultz, Kelly Oubre. Before we start, Reggie Jackson, like, this is a team. Tyus Jones, who Philly Dilly mentioned, was his Jalen Brunson this year.
I love this. Yeah, despite the risk, I love this team. This
is a lot of upside for this team. The build ends up being, well, I don't know. I can't see who took the last pick because Underdog has a little wonkiness here. But it looks like a 3 big team. I assume that last pick was a big. And 3, 4, 7, 7 wings, 6 guards, I think.
See, like, and first off, can we shout out Philly Dilly, because I run into him in the DK streets all the time. I run into him in the Underdog streets, Dude's big on.
Oh, he took Trey Mann last, so he went with a 2 big build, which I dig it with Jokic. Like I think it's totally fine. Like if Jokic gets hurt, you're screwed anyway. You're not finding anybody who's outscoring Jokic in that last round anyway. So I dig it.
Mm-hmm. That is a Mike McDaniel wheelbarrow nuts kind of move right there to take 2 bigs. Oh shit! So the thing is, like, it's fine because you have Jokic and he doesn't miss games. Like Jokic is like the trump card in this format because
so good.
He gives you so much flexibility. You can take 1 big in 8 rounds because you have Nikola Jokic, because he doesn't miss games and because he's so productive. So like shout out Philly Dilly. He's active in our Discord. He was in the best ball DK finals with me last year. So he's a great player. He knows what he's doing. I would have taken Donovan Mitchell over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander personally, with the MCL sprain and the possibility for tanking. And Cleveland is a team that I think all 3 of us like this year. But aside from that, like very strong picks across the board.
8-6-2 build with 8 guards.
That definitely insulates some of that risk too. Going 8-6-2 there with that risk. So it's really well done.
Yeah, and so he's going to be able to cover for Shai early in the season quite easily. Spencer Dinwiddie, we talk about the nuclear upside. It's not going to be quite unleashed until Luka misses, which he at some point in this season will miss some games. Just we've seen Luka play, but he's got Reggie Jackson, Markelle Fultz.
He's got a lot of the backup guards or timeshare guards that could explode. And
bet on Markelle Fultz now, because we don't know how the training camp is. That was an awesome pod, by the way, guys. And Orlando #1. I mean, because that's exactly what I think that's the most uncertain team.
Yeah.
So their scoring is so bad. So many of their guards can't score when they've got Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero who can score like pretty well. Like just find somebody who can pass it to them, and that's what Markelle Fultz can do. Yeah. So do you guys want to do Peterman's team? Because I did kind of hint that we should.
Peterman's team, and then we'll get out of here after that. Yeah. I'll wrap up whatever questions there were. Peterman out of the 7 spot starts Kevin Durant, then our boy DeJounte Murray, Donovan Mitchell, Scotty Barnes. This is a Gallagher-esque team right here.
Very Gallagher-esque team right there.
Terry Rozier, Alperen Şengün, Jordan Poole for Gallagher.
Dude, this is my guy right here, man.
Miles Turner, but here's
I promise it's not my burner. I promise.
Here, Brandon Clark. Here's the question though. Starting big #1 in round 6.
Okay.
What do you think, Claff? What challenges does that put on your roster when your 6th spot is your first big?
I don't know if we can match the upside of Sabonis, Embiid, Cat, AD, Jokic. He gets phenomenal value on Donovan Mitchell. That's an excellent pick.
So the pick you'd want back would be you would have went out Mobley over Scotty for sure.
I would go, yeah. He picked Scotty over Mobley. So yes. In hindsight, maybe he was thinking Jared Allen. Well, no, he passes on Jared Allen for Rozier. If you're going to pass on Mobley for Barnes, you have to take Allen over Rozier for me, because like Sengun is
Porzingis too, I would say.
Sengun, we know we love Sengun like on a permanent basis. He's phenomenal, but he also struggles to protect the rim at times, and that might cost him minutes. And so his minutes projection is not going to be like as solid as Julius Randle's minute projection. There's going to be more uncertainty.
I would love Şengün as my #2 center, my #2 big, just generally.
Especially if you waited a little bit.
Floor gets a little bit concerning, and so you look at floor at the rest of the center spot, backs it up with Miles Turner, Zubats. That's it.
Oh boy, yeah.
That's going to be you need Şengün to be a superstar. You need Şengün to deliver top 4 round value, I think, for this team to be able to contend. I would have considered either, obviously, like we can look at pivot points in the draft with like Jared Allen over Rozier, different things like that. But once you get into Şengün here, I would have considered starting to add bulk to the center spot. So I would have considered going Capella here for Jordan Poole. It's tough to pull a trigger on. But even this spot here, right, where you go Brandon Clark, I might get into Dre or Horford and just start adding, like, I know I need 4 bigs on this team.
Yeah. When I start with Sengun, I'm gonna try to draft 4 bigs. Like if he's my first big, I need the floor, so I'm gonna dedicate more resources to position that I haven't invested early draft capital in. Again, another universal truth in best ball. It's true in NFL. It's true in NBA.
Yeah.
So, Clef, when would you say, like, if you're bigless, like round 5, you almost have to pull the trigger? You would say, like those bigs we talked about.
I think that the last group of guys that I want as my starting center are probably like Joval, KP, Jared Allen, those kind of guys. Maybe Christian Wood, although I would probably not. I would probably cut it off the spot ahead of Christian Wood because Kid says he's going to come off the bench first, and like, I mean, we can call Kid and we could say like, no, dude, we've seen Christian Wood. We know he can play. We know he's going to get there at the end of the year. But we kind of like worry like, well, how's he going to fit in with the new team? Attitude-wise, he's going to lose minutes and piss off the coach. So I would probably try to get at least Jared Allen, KP, Joval, or better as my first pick.
Yeah, and I think I understand. Look, once you get to this point, I think Sengun is the right pick. I just would start reinforcing him with more bigs.
And like this becomes a more important conversation on DraftKings where there are way fewer centers. And so you really need to get, there's a lot of premium on centers actually, whereas here we dock them a little bit.
Yeah. All right. One last question before we get out of here. Andreas Bankari asks, where do you guys fall on Mark Williams? I'll just note with Mark Williams, who rookie drafted by Charlotte, not a lot of competition in front of him, obviously, and I certainly think the Miles Bridges absence opens up even less competition because it's going to make PJ Washington play the 4 more as opposed to playing the 5. The challenge I have with a guy like Mark Williams is he wasn't able to play big minutes in college. So it's very hard for me to assume he can step into, 23, 24, 25 minutes at the pro level right away. Maybe he gets there by the end of the year is the thing that you're betting on. But it's actually one of the reasons I kind of don't mind Mason Plumlee late. We're talking about like Jalen Duran and Isaiah Hartenstein, those guys. There's a season here where if Charlotte's playing better than they expect, that Plumlee's playing 25, 26 minutes a night because Mark Williams is only playing like 18, 19, something like that. And Mark Williams, I like the talent a lot. The block rate's incredible. But rookie centers tend to have a harder time getting on the floor than other positions because of the defensive challenges around it.
I have a hot take.
Let's go.
I think Kai Jones is a sneaky guy that is going to make an impact this season. He's had a really good summer. So keep an eye on him. Yeah, I don't think Mark Williams is ready yet.
There we have it.
Yeah, and like that. Everything that Jake said, like 100%, 1,000%. I mean, I'll go like spicy take. I'll raise on spicy take.
Oh, baby.
Say, like how Leone says Kyle Pitts' upside is Mark Andrews. His best case scenario.
Yeah.
Okay. Mark Williams' upside case is Isaiah Hartenstein.
Ooh, okay.
For me.
I like it.
Yeah. So there
he just needs to get there. He needs to get the minutes. I don't know if Clifford's going to trust him right away, though.
There we have it. All right.
Do it.
We've said almost all of it. An hour and 15 minutes of the best ball stream. We got a draft in. We drafted the winner, so you're all drafting for second place from here on out. Philly Dilly, very, very well done. Strong draft. We really, really thought you killed it out of the one spot. Sorry, it's going to have to go to waste here against us in this league. But we will try to get in a few more of these. We recognize the valuable time slot the Wednesday night now has on the fantasy football degenerates schedule. No NFL going on. So, you guys keep supporting this. Share it around, pass it around to your friends. Apparently. Hit the old subscribe button. Make sure you smash the like button. And we might be back for a few more of these before the season gets going, which is in less than a month.
Let's go, baby.
So,
come on.
Media Day Monday. Media Monday Sunday.
I can't wait. I'm like
we will have more information around our packages, the draft packages that those are, the props packages, the DFS packages. We will have more information on those coming soon within the next couple weeks here, and we'll probably release a soft release of the draft kit early next week. Gallagher's been grinding away on that, while vacationing in Hawaii, just knocking out top 150s while in Maui.
That's not true. No, but I have been since I got back though, and I did on plane.
Like stay tuned for some content, some best ball content as well. Like we're like trying to get some data from Underdog and stuff that will help us. If we get some data, then we'll do a piece like an update to last year, win rates, roster construction, etc. We talk about how important roster construction is. It's a huge edge in NBA. People don't know how to use projections as much. So stay tuned for that, guys.
Yep. All right. For Chris, for Mike Gallagher, for Brody. Good night, everybody. We'll see you again soon for Established Runs NBA Best Ball Stream. Take care, everybody.